Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and by the time you're watching this, it's probably the afternoon. Today, we're going to be going over Regalia Glaciela. We're going to be talking about what's in her kit, what makes her a little bit unique, what makes her pretty powerful, why I still think she is a slow build and not a must build right now. Let's go ahead and dig in. So, Regalia Glaciela is a 100 cost unit. Her primary job is going to be the Silver Main Princess with White Mage and Scholar subjob. Her TMR is actually very powerful, and I think is probably one of the most powerful magical team-based composition TMRs in the game. Its base stats has Spirit, Critical Evasion, HP on it, but the ability gives Magic plus 40% for 3 turns to allies, and it gives Magic Resistance Penetration 20 for 3 turns to self, so very powerful overall. Her mastery ability is good in that it also gives HP 10% for fire allies, fire attack plus 15 for fire allies, and it gives that oh so coveted increased AoE resistance by 10, and then she gets a decreased activation time 200 on all of her spells. For those of you that don't understand how decreased activation skill time works, this is essentially saying that she'll cast most of her spells 20% faster. Not necessarily the truth though, but we'll kind of get into the details of that in another video. Her HP is going to be at 3,152, AP at 178. She gets an additional defense 8 from her ability board and kind of ends up around 542 magic and 66 agility, which is all around amazing for just any type of unit. In terms of resistances, she does have 5% slash resistance, 10% pierce weakness, 5% striking weakness, and she has 20% magic resistance. So immediately when you're looking at her kit, you're kind of thinking, okay, this could be potentially a contender against Black Rose Helena, right? She does have 10% sleep resistance, and she's one of the few units in the game that actually has stun resistance. So very important in terms of knowing what units have stun resistance, since there's so very few of them. Regalia Glaciela is one. She does also come with a little bit of confusion resistance, which can be good as well. Her limit break is pretty cool, so we're going to talk about it real quick. It does reduce counter chance 100 for 3 turns to target, has a long range, it's AoE, it deals 200% damage, and then it grants auto restore on herself. Now, the auto restore is going to restore about 21 AP per turn. It caps out at 10% for 3 turns for herself. To compare this to some of the other AP regeneration things that we have in the game, Ziza's Bells gives Revitalize, which is 25% for 3 turns. Oldoa's TMR gives 5% for 3 turns, and then Midsummer Refreshment, which is Summer Killface TMR, gives plus 20. So it's going to be really good, probably a really good medium ground for AP generation. AP generation, probably not the most important thing with Regalia Glaciela, but it will help, and it is pretty nice to have. In terms of looking at Regalia Glaciela, thinking about the future, thinking about the present, we of course have Minwu coming out. We have Christmas Mashery coming out as well with her EX form. You can think quite clearly the synergy between Glaciela and Black Rose Helena. Of course, Glaciela and King Mont as well. The problems you're going to run into, though, are that, of course, the best vision cards for her are, of course, going to be limited time. So you are going to need the Final Fantasy XIV VC, which would be probably the best VC to put individually on her. And then you're going to need the Crystal Chronicles VC for that fire attack plus 35. There's also the problem that there is no real fire magic Esper, so you'll likely be putting Bahamut on her, which is not the worst thing in the world. However, if you're planning on running her with other mages, this could mess up potentially your situation in terms of being able to kind of balance your Espers appropriately. Finally, we do also need to keep in mind that Summer Elsorel did come out. We have Farm coming out in the near future, EX Miranda coming out in the future, and EX Winter Victoria potentially as soon as next week, depending on whenever they kind of do the 1.5 year anniversary shenanigans. We also have Tomb Raider as well, which is something to consider. So there's a lot of water units coming. And I think right now is not necessarily the time for Regalia Glaciela to shine. maybe a little bit further down the road, but we'll kind of have to wait to see. She could, you know, if you don't have Black Rose Helena, she could be a great alternative right now to kind of fill in your roster as well. Take a look at her kit here. What's interesting is she has a lot of decreased activation skill time in her kit, and a lot of it is stuff you could actually be setting. So her main ability, Arcane Assault Mastery, is going to increase magic attack 12, Spirit Penetration 40, which is incredibly powerful, and you're going to want to be setting that. Gives you additional 150 activation time down, which would be 350 if you're including her mastery ability. Other than that, she has Nullified Doom. She has Scholarly Intuition, which gives defense 12, accuracy 20. You could definitely go for that, or you could go for Knowledge Reserves for that additional 200 spellcast time reduction, putting her at 550 passive cast reduction, which is very fast, I would say. And particularly considering you could spam her or use her ability from Scholar Sub to increase that ability activation more, could make her a very fast casting unit. Out of all her counters, we're probably going to be setting Magic Detection, which is essentially just Magic Reflex on her. 20% chance to proc, very powerful if you are planning on trying to maybe take her against Black Rose Helena and really lean into those magical resistances that she has. In terms of her primary kit, her main attack is going to be kind of 2-range inflicts Berserk, 141% damage. She has a buff ability which gives magic attack plus 20 for 3 turns to allies, and magic attack plus 50 turns for herself, or plus 50 for 3 turns for herself, which is all very powerful. I think what her kind of key move is here, and you know, people might argue with me about this. They might say, well, her CT ability is her key move. I actually think Grand Explosion is probably her most powerful move because it gives 220% modifier, but it also increases the spirit penetration of her by 50 for 1 turn for herself, and it's a large range AoE ability, and it's going to be kind of like wide hitting. So I could actually see this being devastating potentially, especially on opponents that don't have a lot of single target resistance. If you are, or sorry, a lot of AoE resistance, if you are going to be going up against units that do have single target resistance, you're going to be using her ability Rending Fangs. Rending Fangs is interesting because it has an increased modifier by 60% if the target has haste, berserk, auto restore, or sleep. A lot of the times you're going to run into Dwayne with auto restore on. I'm not really sure you would see berserk that often. I feel like once Berserk is on an opponent, the match is almost over. Kind of same with Sleep and Haste. But maybe Haste could be really powerful in live PvP. You could use this. But definitely something to think about. It's a pretty strong single target ability. Acer Impact is a 165x modifier, awkwardly shaped long-range line attack for her. I don't think this will see a lot of use. I think you will see Regal Tranquility used, which is the same range almost as Grand Explosion. 220% modifier as well, but it's going to decrease CT, 25x for targets, which is very powerful. If you're going to sub her primary job, it's interesting to note that she is one of the only jobs, she might be the only job in the game that in her primary kit, not her limit break, can actually lower magic resistance 38%. So if you do sub Silvermane Princess, she will be able to lower magic resistance on the target, which is very relevant. It's also important to note here, she does have access to Triple Bite, which is a 3-hit ability. If you are wanting to go in a situation where maybe you can chain fire, this again could be really good with someone like Rain potentially. If you are wanting to chain fire on an opponent of some sort. I can't think of anything that's coming in the future where you would want to do that, but I could absolutely see it being very powerful, and I could see her being a very effective PvE chaining unit if you really needed her to be. In terms of her sub kits, though, I think most of the time you're going to see her sub Scholar. Sub White Mage, she doesn't have anything in here that a lot of players usually use for sub White Mage. So she doesn't have a Rise, she doesn't have Re-Raise. You could maybe go PvE with Curaga and such, but she doesn't have any healing boost. And honestly, Sub Scholar offers a lot of survivability for the individual unit. And it also offers a different damage type, that being striking, with the law of geo-absorption. So I do think subbing Scholar is the best way to go for her. Subbing Scholar is going to give you Disarmament, which will give, of course, 43% attack down if you're on the target. You have the law of speed reading for CT up and activation time minus 350. which on her would actually make her activation time 100, which would basically make it, if you understand how that works, effectively an instant cast. You're also going to have Law of Preservation, which will give her defense up, and of course that oh so powerful Law of Geo-Absorption that's going to heal her, but it will also be a fist or striking type ability that she can cast, which is going to be very powerful if you're looking to exploit different types of damage types on the opponents. Overall, I would say Regalia Glaciela is a very powerful unit, very cool, very unique. I think she can compete on Black Rose Helena's tier, but in terms of right now and the timing of the release of this unit, I would say she's not necessarily worth chasing. We're in the middle of Final Fantasy VII Remake. We have yet to see what's coming with Tomb Raider next week or the week after. There is Halloween around the corner where we're going to be getting Halloween Leela EX, for example. We have Farm coming, we have Miranda EX, we have, you know, potentially a Water Lara Croft coming. So I think the timing on Regalia Glaciela is just a little bit off. I think she's a slow build. I think maybe eventually when we get some good fire synergies, especially with Minwu coming out, you could run like a mono fire comp if you do have the limited BCs. Overall, though, I think she's a slow build right now. And I think, you know, there's going to be a lot more quote-unquote fun toys coming out over the next couple weeks, like Ruinstern EX, Laswell EX, that people are going to be jumping on board with. And I think Regalia Glaciela is going to kind of be benched a little bit. Maybe we'll see her as like Black Rose Helena counter comp. It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.